Hi YouTube and welcome back to the channel. So a little bit ago, after the Natlan teaser was released by Genshin, and after watching it, my stream and I had a little bit of a discussion regarding the designs of the characters shown and the absence of accurate representation therein. And I did find it very, very interesting to hear everybody's thoughts, opinions, and points of view on the issue. I think it is crucial and very important for people to continue talking about these things, especially for the sake of not only spreading awareness, but also spreading information and education on the details of what accurate representation should look like in a game. So I wanted to kind of compile the whole discussion together for YouTube. For those that may have missed the stream or just want to kind of recap everything that was said, reaching out to Hoyoverse is the most important thing to do right now. You can reach out to them through the feedback function in game. You can also reach out to them via email to their customer support and tell them why you want this, why you think it's important to see this in the game that you love so much. And in addition, there is also a petition going around right now. I believe at time of recording they have about 94,000 signatures and they're trying to get to 100k, so I will link it in the description so you can go and sign. Those are, I think, the most important ways that you can help right now to kind of at least do our best to open Hoyoverse's eyes. I know that it doesn't feel very hopeful, but as I say later in the video, we can't get anything we don't ask for. So if you really, really do care, reach out, tell them how you feel, and, you know, if you're a player that really, really loves this game and wants to see a change, ask for that change. So without further ado, here's the video. I hope you guys enjoy. It's not a very happy topic, so enjoy is a strong word, but regardless, I hope you find it informational and interesting at the very least. So thanks for watching. And let's get into it. I wanted to actually like have a discussion about this on stream, of course, if you guys are comfortable, because obviously we've been seeing a lot about the designs of the characters and how they are not representative of the cultures they are drawn from. And I've been doing a lot of listening, well, reading the past couple days since it dropped, and before that since the previous one dropped. And learning a lot. I've been learning a lot about like the culture in specific, because I don't know too much beyond surface level. So I've been learning a lot about, you know, people, the beloved people on Twitter that make threads about the origins and the gods that were involved and all of that really, really cool stuff. Ancient history. I love it. And just also absorbing over time the thoughts and feelings of those who feel misrepresented. I don't want to not talk about it because I think it's very important that it gets talked about. I think that's very, very important. That is the most important thing, that it gets talked about. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of listening the past couple days, and it's been really, really interesting and eye-opening to see all of this really, really cool history that I didn't know. And it does make me a little bit sad because I've been seeing a lot of the fan art and the redesigns, and they look so good. They look so good. I've been seeing a lot of people say that it almost seems like the characters were intended to have more variety of skin tone originally, and then it seems like it got changed at the last second. Like, people were like, this looks like how it was supposed to be, and I 1000% agree. Like, when I look at those pictures, not even the fan arts, which, let me just pull up some of my favorites here real quick. I've been saving them on Twitter. Wow. Holy! I felt like that about Tignari. Dude, Tignari would have looked so good. It would have looked so good. Is this allowed? Yeah, I say it's allowed. It's allowed because I said so. It makes me a little bit sad. It makes me a little bit sad. Like, I can't... I will never be able to understand how the people who are not getting represented in this way feel. Like, I understand that I can't relate to them at all. But so the best thing that I can do is listen to how they feel and try to empathize. Is that the right word? It's sad how, given just how much they're obviously using for inspiration, but they can't do something so simple. See, and that's my issue with using it's fantasy, it's fiction as an argument, because we're taking inspiration from real life places. You are taking, you're looking at a culture and you say, wow, I really like your vibes, I really like your clothes, I really like your music, I really like everything about you except for you. And that's really sad. To have to pick and choose. And another common argument I think is, well, not argument, I don't want to make it sound like everybody's arguing. Some people are, but another thing that people say is, oh well, the Chinese player base, you know, they'll only go off of the Chinese player base. The Chinese player base is also confused and upset right now. Like, they're also like, what? Also not an excuse for the reason that other Chinese games are able to do this with ease, with style, with taste, with beauty, and still make lots of money off of it. So, shut up. People say that need to watch a few theory videos and see how much they take from the real world. And the thing is, the way that Genshin interprets culture into its game in all other ways besides skin tones is so good. Like, they put the work into it. At least from my opinion, my point of view. I feel like they know what they're doing when it comes to research and when it comes to, you know, design elements and when it comes to everything, and then, you know, making it into their game. They're so good at it. It's this close. It's this close. I think a lot of people are just kind of at a point where they're like, why? And I feel for them. And I think it does feel, I remember us talking about this when the first Natlan teaser came out. It feels very hopeless because people have been asking about this for a long time. Since the beginning of the game. And nothing's happened. But at the same time, if people stop talking about it, nothing's gonna happen either. I think that the best thing that we as people who care can do is keep talking about it. There's lots of people that I've seen on Twitter that have come up with really good copy pastas for emails and for feedback to Hoyoverse. And I actually saw one person got a response email that was not the typical automated message. It says, hello dear traveler, we would like to let you know that we are very happy to see that some players want to contribute to the development of the game and come up with innovative ideas every day. About the skins and their color, we want to inform you that we do not decide, but you, the players who send us your views, have a great effect on the decisions because you and your vision matters most when making changes to the game. I assume that means we do not decide means that, like, the people that you're talking to right now do not oversee that part of the game. That would make sense. Know that your opinion matters to us, and we have always tried to use player suggestions in order to create a more pleasant playing environment. Your point of view has been processed and forwarded to the responsible department, and we assure you it will be taken into account for future updates. If you have any other suggestions about the game or other ideas you think would help, don't forget to let us know. So, like, that's something other than the usual Oh, please remember these are works of fiction. Email. Someone higher up must be getting in the way. I agree. I think it's a director thing, a producer thing, something like that. Especially when we look at like the designs seeming like they were originally intended to be that way and then possibly swapped around. The Brazilian cat lady doesn't have a Brazilian name, as an example. I need to know what ethnicities they were inspired by, what elements of their clothing are connected to which cultures and stuff. I like, if you guys have resources that you find interesting or threads you find interesting about like what the inspirations were, I would love to see them. Like, please send them in the Discord, because I genuinely want to learn more. Also, so that I'm not like speaking from any place of ignorance, you know? I also think like the cultures that are intended to be represented here are sick. I've also seen Natlan has African inspiration. There's definitely African inspiration in Natlan, at least based off of what I've seen other people talking about. There are a lot of different cultures mashed into Natlan. What I'm hoping for is that we see each one honored throughout the individual tribes. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, and it's not just like, oh, these are fun tribes that we made up and each one of them is a mix of like 7 different cultures. A lot of it is on localization teams and voice directors, especially with guidance and pronunciations, not the VAs themselves. Yes, voice directors and localization is, yeah, it's hard to say because there's a bit of discrepancy between their names and their you mean like the origin of the name and then their design? Yeah, like oh my gosh, Ororan. I can't even remember Ororan's name because all I can think of is the actual deity's name, which I think is Oloran. Come on, do you realize how sick that could have been? There's quite a few discrepancies in weapon names from the original Chinese and localizations in English. I wonder if that could be a factor here too. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure, at least from what I've heard, Ororan, I would think in English is the only one that they misspelled. All I know being Mexican is that Xilonen and Stanley are mostly Mexican sounding ones, but Xilonen gives more Brazilian than Mexican. Okay, because her design is seems like from what you guys are saying, very Brazilian. They've clearly done some research but applied it in strange ways. Yeah, they kind of do a little bit. I think what the biggest problem is they kind of just do a little bit too much mishmashing, when really you can just keep the name. You can just keep the original name. You don't have to change it. I also think that this issue in general has a lot of different layers to it, because this has been an issue since the start of the game of just people wanting general representation. Like, but then once we started to get the countries that were inspired by those cultures that wanted representation, that's when a whole nother layer of problem went onto it, because then we got into the issue of, oh, you want to borrow elements from my culture but not acknowledge the people within. It's not just misspellings, but the entire essence and meaning of the names are different. Are there any of them that are like an actual name, that someone has had that actually means something? Sitali is a real person name. Well, that's good. Again, like I can't speak, or I don't feel as comfortable speaking for what I want in the game, because it's not about me. I want other people to get what they want. Fantasy stories struggle with diversity because how much of our world should be in the fantasy. There should be diversity in tones, but is it then hollow if there is no discrimination or allegory for it in the fantasy world? I see what you're saying. Having the diversity but not acknowledging struggles, is that kind of what you're saying? It's hard to say. It's hard to say if I feel like we can hope for anything, because it in fact does not feel like we can. But at the same time, the moment we give up is the moment we've given up. I don't know how better to word that, but like the only way to make things change is to talk about it. I will admit, though, it does feel very hopeless. Also, on the other side of my point, is diversity just pandering when the character doesn't relate to culture they are inspired from? Yeah, like, if they're not directly represented. But then also you have the how to represent culture without appropriating or stereotyping, I think, is another thing. Stereotyping, bad. Bad. So you really have to make sure, like, if you want to represent especially a person of color, that you're doing your research into the culture. I disagree. I do think it's important to engage in conversations, but the only way to get a company to listen fully is to not give them money and not play the game. Not that I will stop doing these things, but that's just capitalism. Yeah, I've kind of been waffling back and forth on that point myself. Because, you know, there's a lot of people that say, oh, well, you stop playing the game, won't... Hoyo doesn't care. Hoyo doesn't care about your input or your, you know, your $5 a month for Welkin. Like, and then there are other people that share a similar opinion with you that believe that that in fact will matter. Which, with those kinds of things, the only way to know is if it happens and how many people would actually do that. Like, would enough people do that to actually make a difference that the multi-billion-dollar company would wake up? I mean, so for real, after everything's said, I'm not going to be spending anymore. Yeah, and I think that's so valid. Like, if that's what you decide to do in response, I think that's completely valid. And who knows? The more we do these things, it may work. It's kind of just like hope is really all we can hold on to. I think people getting mad at people who do not like these issues or are, you know, speaking down on these issues, but get mad at people for still enjoying the game is a little bit... There is definitely still a concept of enjoying something while being critical of it at the same time. Vast majority of their revenue comes from China itself, so I think we're just a tiny dent in the big picture. Yeah, I would have to see numbers and stuff. It's so hard. It's so hard because it's a worldwide game. It's huge. It's huge from other countries. But like, that's strictly speaking popularity and not money. The issue we have that Genshin Twitter and Twitch is only a small percentage of the player base. We think we have power in the 21st century versus companies because a lot of people can yell on the internet, but the situation in reality is always more complex. I definitely agree with that. I saying that, I don't think that they're not hearing us. I don't think that they're not hearing us. I do in fact believe that they hear a lot of what we talk about. Like I said earlier, there are people in the Chinese community who are confused and upset by this, but like, we don't know how many. It's so, like you said, it's so much more complex than it appears on the surface. And that's not to like twist it into a morally gray situation. There's definitely a right and wrong here. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I'm still playing. I love the game, but I'm trying to hit them where it hurts. My $5 probably doesn't matter, but a bunch of $5 makes a difference. Yeah, definitely. I think this is the last straw for a lot more people than Sumeru was, because this was kind of people's last hope. You know, in the beginning of the game, it was, where are the darker skinned characters? And people were like, oh, well, wait for Sumeru. It's based off, you know, North Africa, South Asia, etc., etc. We'll get them there. And then it was Sumeru, and then it was, oh, wait for the desert. These are the jungle characters. They don't get much sun. Okay. And then it was, oh, we'll wait for Natlan. So I think Natlan was kind of like our, like, people's last, it's the last kind of chance. At a high possibility. Not to say that they couldn't still do it. Not to say that they couldn't still do it in Natlan. If God smiles down on the world and changes Hoya versus Heart. Yes, use the surveys. I think something really important to remember, just for all of you that are upset or concerned or angry, totally valid, totally okay to feel that way. I ask only that you do not take out those feelings on other players or the VAs. I can't believe I even have to say that, but it happens. Keep in mind that Hoyoverse and Hoyoverse only are the people at fault here. So if you want to speak about it, obviously, you know, speaking up on social media is definitely an option and can help. But emailing them directly / filling out the surveys is the best way that you can reach them. Sucrose's VA is the most vocal. Yeah, and Alejandro as well. I saw Albert's VA talk about it. This is my favorite NPC in the whole game, y'all. Like, give me this. Give me this. Why can't I have this? She's so pretty. Thank you, by the way, to everyone who's weighing in. This was something that I was actually kind of looking forward to, just because I feel so, like, kind of small sometimes looking at the internet discussions of these things and feeling like, whoa, there's so much happening. But it's very important to me that, like you guys are my community. So you guys are the people, my close circle of, you know, layers within the Genshin fan base. So it's also very important to me to hear what you guys have to say, not only because you guys are my community, but also because it is important to me to hear other people's points of view. I think Hoyoverse could make darker skin tone characters with cool and engaging stories that are not harmful, but it does take a lot more work than a hot girl with fan service that will make a lot of money. You are absolutely correct. The remainder of the Natlan characters or cast for 5.x could be darker skin if the players inform Hoyoverse in time before they are teased. Yes. I will again stress that right now, if you want to see change, or if you want to help others see change, that right now is the time to talk. Send your emails, get your surveys out. Right now. I was ready for Mavika being light-skinned as it falls in line with the lore of Archons being usurpers. I actually expected her to be Fontania, but 80% of the characters revealed so far being light-skinned is so disheartening. Yeah, I've been seeing some complaints about Mavika because her name is derived from, I believe, oh gosh, I don't remember exactly what the name is. But it's derived from one of those, like, historical names who was a darker skinned woman. Deity? Question mark? A male goddess, I think so, yeah. It was like Mahuika or something. It's very similar. And a lot of other people are saying, oh, well, she's white because she's Himiko. But she's also not. Maybe, I don't know. We don't know for sure yet, but at least from the sounds of it, people are simply just asking for a diversity, which diversity means inclusion of the differences, not just like extreme ends of the spectrum, and B, historical accuracy and representation, which is like a whole nother layer on top of just simply having a character that has darker skin in a game. Just nice balance in the roster. Exactly. What annoys me the most is when people are like, oh, well, there's pale people in those countries too. Yeah, and there's also dark-skinned people in those countries too. I feel that because making a fiction story is about balance, but Genshin and a lot of gacha games use iconic legends or stories from history, so it's wrong to represent a culture properly because they're choosing to connect to the real world to the fantasy world. Yeah. Prime MVA said they've been pushing for this in the studio for forever. Oh yeah. I mean, it's been an issue for so long, and I don't know, like, it's hard because there's if we take, say, like, the quality of life things we've been asking for, those things took a lot of pushing as well. But one has to wonder, will this ever happen, you know? I've mentioned it in a past stream, but why do all the melanated characters have worse kits overall? That is another problem as well. That's why I'm like, Yansan, better not get bad treatment. Yansan better be good. And I feel like Yansan has a lot of fans too. So it would be disappointing so many people. As a pale Latino, yes, there are a lot of pale Latinos, so there's plenty of Latinos with darker skin too. Yeah, like, the problem is when we make pale the reigning supreme color that everyone gets to be. Like, yes, when we look at a specific culture, especially in modern day times, we see a very wide variety of skin tones there in any given culture or any given country. But when
I have never lost.
When we say, yeah, but I only like the white ones, that's where it becomes a really big problem. Wish how your creative direction would reinforce their original ideas a bit better. There's a lot of borrowed historical and cultural content when they've already proven they have the ability and means to create original content. See, great point. When it comes to creative work, everything is inspired by something. If you are going to borrow, and if you are going to acknowledge historical and cultural references, you can't just do it the way that you want. Maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I don't look to Hoyo games for representation. And there are people out there that, like people of color out there that say, I don't care. They don't care themselves, but they still acknowledge that there are other people out there that care, and everybody gets along. It's when there are people that don't care but then get mad at people for caring, that's when things really start to go down in flames. Like, you can have it not matter to you, but acknowledge that it still matters to someone else, you know? Parker Maria was taken exactly from the way Rome was founded according to— oh my god, Maria was Rome copy-pasted. Not in a bad way. Like, I don't think it's bad to derive inspiration from real world cultures. You just need to do it correctly.
Thank you for letting me share my thoughts.
Yeah.
It was great hearing your thoughts and chats. I think the best way forward for everyone is to have thoughtful conversation instead of yelling at people on Twitter.
Yes. Agree. Don't yell at people on Twitter. It is absolutely unproductive to your day and solves nothing. If you're seeing this on the VOD or on YouTube, join us on Twitch. It's better than Twitter. Obviously, topic not happy, but I enjoyed us being able to discuss and share thoughts and go over everything. I do want you guys to know that, like, I genuinely appreciate everyone's willingness to weigh in on the situation. And I think some final thoughts from me is that the fact that everyone cares about this so much just goes to show how much everyone cares about this game and how much we want to see good things from it. It sparks a little bit of hope. I think that's why I feel like talking about it is so important. And talking about it in a way that emphasizes research and action is the most important, rather than negativity, is the best way to facilitate change. Of course, people are going to be angry, and it's absolutely, they have every right to be angry. But I am really happy to see people out there helping others understand why this is a problem, because I think also there's some people that just don't like quite get it. Me, myself, I've been learning a lot the past few days, like I said. The details and the nitty gritty of, like, this is why X character is should have been a little bit different. And also just learning history is really, really cool. So I will continue to do my best to listen to those affected, and hope and pray and ask for change in the future. I don't know if it goes too far into copium to say that they could shift the characters that have already been released, but at least maybe future characters. I really hope for the people who want to see representation in these games that we get that. I don't want to look at it too negatively and say it's not going to happen. I don't want to build up too many expectations, but I also know that we can't get anything that we don't ask for. So going through the past couple days, reading everything and thinking about, like, watching the trailer and stuff, is I just want to make sure that everyone feels safe and comfortable to have these kinds of discussions in my community. And I think it's important that we do so, you know? And I love hearing you guys share. Artists can spend less than an hour redesigning said characters. Oh yeah, it can definitely make it work. Oh yeah, it's easy. It's easy, and they can definitely do it last minute. I don't want to see anyone saying, oh, the designs are already out, it's gonna be so much work for them to do. No. Honestly, delay it a month. I don't care. As far as, like, the people who are wondering, oh, what should I be doing? Reach out. Email, survey. Do whatever you can. I think we can do our best, and we can hold out hope. And hopefully someday. All that to say, thank you guys. Thank you for everything and for enjoying this game with me. Will the conversations about Natlan ever be considered for YouTube? Honestly, maybe. I was thinking about maybe just, like, kind of like compiling everyone's thoughts. It's a bunch of me yapping and running around not doing anything, but it's very important words that are being said. So subscribe. Anyways, all right, bye guys. See you later. Have a good night. Drink your water. Bye.